Hey guys, Wandering Shell here, and once again, I'm gonna be doing another Marvel United character, and this time it's gonna be Hulk. He's actually the biggest character in the game so far. So I started out with his purple pants, and there was a hair there. Anyway, so I started off with his purple pants. I was thinking the blue because in the picture it showed blue, but I wanted to keep it iconic and make it the purple. If you notice in the background of the I'm taking it from the bottles is because I don't have much purple left and I'm just literally scraping down the barrel, hoping to get that last bit of purple left. That's why it kind of looks streaky, because it's the last of my purple. So he was actually he's an easy character, but at the same time he was a pain in the ass because of how much green. And boy, Hulk is green. So I chose kind of like a medium green for him. And honestly, when I was doing this, I should have chose a darker green, because when I tone him and then highlight, it really didn't show fully. It just stayed as green. It was kind of upsetting, actually. So maybe while you guys are doing yours, you start off with a darker green and go from there, and always make it lighter during the highlights. It kind of pops more, especially with his bulging muscles like that. So this goes on quite a while of painting him green. And I mean a while. And because of him, I'm almost done with my heroes. So I have him to be finished, which is this video, and then Ant-Man, he's my last hero. Then I have the two villains, Ultron and Taskmaster. So, and of course Hulk was the biggest one. I was thinking to have him last, but again, I wanted to do Ant-Man last because I started off with Wasp. So here I'm kind of carefully making sure I don't get green everywhere on him. And I had to get a smaller brush because I used a bigger brush for majority of him. Now I'm up to the very close little bits and just painting him green. And this is the part where I actually almost forgot his feet. So this is the part where I'm like, okay, I think I got everything. Perfect. I put him down for a second, and I'm like, oh, his feet. I forgot. So this is the part where I'm doing his feet now. And his feet were actually annoying because of where the gravel is. It's covering a good chunk of section of his feet, and even where his fist is and his arms, everything just crunched in there, and it was very hard to get to. Double checking, make sure I didn't miss anywhere, and then I start painting his hair. I painted his hair black because Bruce Banner's hair is black. So I start out as black, and then when I get to the highlighting, I will highlight it, have green highlights in it to make it very hulky. So it's something to consider. So instead of having, and you can even do vice versa, have green, painted green and then have a black highlight. Because Hulk does technically have black hair. And because of the gamma radiation, I guess it's because it turns green, or greenish. So I wanted to keep an homage to that. Then his eyebrows, painted those black because Hulk. Then I messed up and I had a big chunk of black paint stuck on his head, forehead. So I had to try to clear that off, and easier said than done, especially when the green paint doesn't want to actually work for whatever reason. Then I had to touch up his eyebrows again. Then I did his tongue, which was in the red, and his teeth was white. I also put in, like, far in the back of the mouth is black. I kind of put that there, but even when you're doing like a dark tone or a strong tone and you put it in there, it'll still turn like a brown dark. So after Hulk was done, since he was easy enough to do, it's time to do his base. So I did like a copper bronzy thing. I guess that's a metal piece. I know one of the other characters had the same piece, so I might as well continue on the trend of that. And then, of course, the gravel and the cement. So with the gravel, I use a very dark brown, and then during the highlighting phase, I use a lighter brown on the pieces themselves to kind of pop a little bit more. You can also use effects paints, like mud effect or dirt effect, stuff like that if you really want. But because this is kind of like a city base, like a city street type of base, I chose just leave it as is. Because I tried to do the mud version on Wasp for the first time, but that didn't work out so well. So just going over all the different gravel sections. And there was actually quite a few. Then do a little bit more. There was even like a section where it's like a metal piece. I had to do that. Kind of keeping it all together. This is where I did the metal piece right here. This small little like pipe it looked like, so might as well. Then I had to mix black and white to make that gray, because I really didn't have any more gray. So if you have just a bottle that has just gray, that's great. Makes it easier. If not, obviously mix black and white and mix gray. But be careful when you mix, because too much black or too much white will change the color. Too much black will be darker gray, too much white will be a lighter gray. Makes sense, right? Right. So, painting all the gravel. And it was even under his foot, and his foot is raised a little, so that threw me off when I was painting it. Even the gravel was like even sticking out from underneath. Kind of like how Iron Man had like even the background of it too. So you had to do the whole thing. That's why I always try to do the character first and then the base, because you can see with Hulk's right foot, where I'm painting just now, that there was green on the bottom where his paint was. So it's kind of a good thing to do something like that, where you do the figure first and then the base. Because if you try to do vice versa, after all that work of making the base look nice, now you do the character, and what happens if you get the little bit of paint on the base? There goes all the work you did. So, making sure I got everywhere, and then soon it's gonna. I tried to make that a little darker, but for whatever reason my paint thinned out. It happens. always make sure you mix your paints. So I'm double checking, making sure I got everywhere before I get to the next stage. And what's this next stage, you might ask? It's gonna be toning. So in this section, I used a green tone for him, but honestly, I shouldn't have. I should have used a strong tone on him because the green tone kind of just blended in with the greens. And yes, it made it darker, but I don't know, it just didn't look right to me. So maybe when you guys are doing yours, use like a strong tone or a dark tone instead. Or if you are using that dark green, use the green tone. It might help a little bit more. So I was kind of a little heavy on the green tone, trying to get into all those nooks and crannies that he has, because he has a lot of detail in him, and I didn't want to lose that, especially with just a plain green color. Make sure I got everywhere. Also, when you're painting, sometimes while you're painting the big sections, in those little crevices, it might get bubbles. So just kind of paint over it again, kind of pop the bubbles. Make sure I got everywhere. And then I also used a strong tone for his pants and the base. And a little bit of his hair, just to get that everything taken care of, even though the black paint doesn't actually do anything with the tones. It doesn't change anything because it's such a dark color. So if you try to do that, a strong tone or any tones on black paint, it's not going to show that easily. So this is where I'm doing just a quick dark strong tone on the base. And strong tone will give you like a medium brown color. Dark tone will give you a darker brown color, and soft tone will give you a light brown color. Give you a general idea on these different tones. And of course, there's other toners like green, purple, blue, ones like that. So if you have a character who is a very green, hence Hulk, you can use a green tone. Or if you want it to have a little different color, you can add, instead of green, you could have done blue or even red or things like that. It changes the character's look, not by much, because all the tone is doing is going into those crevices where the detailing is. And so now I'm up to doing the dry brushing, and this is where I really wanted to have fun with the dry brushing, especially his hair. So I dry brushing the green highlights in his hair. In order to dry brush like this, you did a little bit of paint, majority of it will come off of the paper towel, and then you just slightly go back and forth, back and forth. I try to go with his hair, like how his hair is moving, so it looks more realistic, like that's his actual hair movement. Double checking if I missed anywhere, because I try to get majority like the tips of his hair. Frosted tips. Try to get tips of his hair green. So this is where I'm mixing white and the green skin. Trying to get a very lighter green, especially like on top, where the muscles are. You give more of a definition. So I try to dry brushing it like that, and oof, did not look good at all. At least to me, anyway. Let me know if it actually looked good or not in your eyes, because for me, oof. So try dry brushing everywhere, and Hulk is a big guy. because when you dry brush, you're just painting the raised parts of the figure. That's why when you're doing the toning, it goes in the darker spots, the non-raised sections. I really didn't mess with the pants that much because the purple really wasn't great anyway. So I try not to change much on that. Add a little bit more green for his hair. And then I kind of went back with black because I thought it was too much green. So I went back to using the black after more green. I tried putting more green tone on him, especially in this sections, but obviously it just did not work out. So I was kind of like second guessing myself. Then I tried using a dark tone or a strong tone on this now. Still didn't help. So Hook was a little tricky. You would think because he's green and purple he'd be easy. Nope. Not that easy. So I went back and just dry brushed what I did and just kind of fixed what I did. Of course, got to get his heels of his feet. Then this is the teeth, so we gotta be nice and gentle, and use a very thin brush to get his teeth. Thin brush, a little bit of paint, and then his eyes. This time I actually made eyes for him. So I put the white, then I went and got some green, but I tried to think of just doing green and be done with it, but it just didn't look right. So I kind of went over and did the white a little bit, but obviously you can't see it because I'm an idiot and not showing you. So you just gotta find out that if I did it alright. So this is the part where I went back on the black to give it a little bit more definition with the black and the green. Then went to the eyes because after thinking it over and also letting the paint dry in the eye socket, I went over and did his eyes. So very carefully, and you could do it one swell swoop, or you can do like little dots to fill it in. So I used the smallest brush we have. It's like an Ultra Psycho brush. It's literally a piece of whatever they use, like horsehair or something. It's like one strand. It's so small, but that's what you need for the eyes, the eye details. So I did that for his eyes. Then I used like a dark green, and then to give it life, I made a little boop of a white. And this took me so long trying to get his eyes just right. And I went back to other sections of him just to clean up and use that little tiny brush for the itty bitty details. And this is me trying to focus, trying to get that one spot of his eyes, and I was literally shaking trying to get it. So if your hands are shaking like that also, put down the character. Like, use the table as helping and lean against something. At least you're more stable. And breathe. Always breathe. Oh, and of course he fell off. Tiny little doop of a drop. Making sure everything looks good and cleaned up. Always take your time. Alright, and that's pretty much it. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more. Maybe I'll do the villains next time, or at least one of the villains. And this is Wandering Shell. See ya.